Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We're on a United show today, Devil's Advocate, and today, on this momentous Monday afternoon, a nice 3 p.m. start time, I am joined by Mr. Greg Chambers, newest member to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast for Devil's Advocate. And today we are reviewing Manchester United versus Manchester City, 2-0 win for Manchester United, and all things considered for all Manchester United fans. A great day for us, considering we went into this derby. Nobody was expecting Manchester United to pick up a result here at all yesterday. I think for many United fans, it was a quite welcome shock, to all of us, and it was a very good game for all Manchester United fans. All things considered, Dean Fury's in the house straight away in the comment section here today. Dean Fury said, "Woke up this morning feeling fine." Greg, I think we can both echo them thoughts of Dean there in the comments. I have an extra spring in my step today when I woke up this morning. With the win. But how are you, Greg? Before we get into the game, how are you today? Joe, thanks very much for coming on. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, even better after yesterday's result. I think if we been absolutely trounced yesterday, I'd been a bit more of a dire mood. But Liverpool losing, us winning, it's back to the good old days of Manchester United. That's what I grew up with, Man United. I expected Liverpool to lose and expected Man United to win. So it's good.
Yeah. And as I think one of the lads said in the group chat yesterday, if Carlsberg done weekends, I think this weekend for Manchester United fans was quite fantastic when you see Liverpool losing to Fulham at Anfield and making it 6 in a row, and though Klopp talking about let's make it 6, baby, and then United go away to the Etihad and put on a quite dominant display at the Etihad yesterday. I thought for United fans yesterday, though, the weekend couldn't have gone any better, to be quite honest. But obviously, look, the reason why we're here today is to talk about the game. We're not here to talk about the Scousers, really. In that regard, they're in enough trouble. But when you look at United's win yesterday, obviously we go to the Etihad. Manchester City on it were won 21 straight games. Manchester United before yesterday's game, we were 21 games unbeaten away from home. Somebody's had to go. There was an omen there, it was either United's unbeaten run to go away from home or City's winning run to coming to an end. Manchester United win 2-0, and I think we can all agree from the first minute of the game, United were on the front foot. We get a penalty in 36 seconds into the game. Bruno Fernandez puts it away, and I think when you look at United's performance yesterday compared to the other games previously, Chelsea and Crystal Palace, the players had an extra bit of bite in their performance. Everyone was working, everyone seemed in sync. There was a lot of communication on the pitch, and it's something that we didn't see in the last kind of couple of weeks. And I suppose my point of view, looking at it, there was points in the game where I think we could have taken our chances, a bit more. We could have won that game by a bit more. I think it was the scoreline probably flattered Manchester City, in that regard. Dean Henderson wasn't massively tested yesterday, and when he did get tested, he was quite comfortable. Dean Henderson was fantastic in goal, but second half comes up and Manchester United, we dominated that second half. We kept City at bay for large parts of the second half. Luke Shaw, I know we're going to get onto him later on in the show, but fantastic finish from Luke Shaw, and very well taken goal, and it was a very good performance by him on that left hand side coming up against Riyad Mahrez, who he pocketed again, and Juan Cancelo, who has arguably been the best right back in the league this season. So I think for us yesterday, looking at that performance and look how comfortable we were throughout that game for large parts of that game, it was very refreshing, I suppose, from my point of view, because I was watching that game. I was very hungover. I was watching the UFC the night before. I was quite sick, so my body was feeling bad anyway. But obviously, being a derby, I was massively nervous anyway, because as you always are for a derby game. But all in all, it was such a good performance. It was so refreshing to see us go out and do that in a big game, because there's so much stigma around Manchester United and the big games this season. For you, just give your overall thoughts. What are your overall thoughts on the overall game itself?
Well, yeah, it was obviously an amazing result, but Ollie did it again when no one expected it. When the chips were down, Ollie performed. It seems to be this Manchester United team like to do things the hard way. So we'll go and play the worst game of football I've ever seen at Crystal Palace and then go out and really challenge against Manchester City. But it seems to be how Ollie has got this team set up. It seems to be this team's belief is when no one believes in them, that's when they pull out the results. We've seen it in the past. I think if you look along the results that we have, or the games that we've lost recently, like we lost obviously to West Brom, thinking that was just going to be an easy game. We lost the semi-finals last year, especially Sevilla in the Europa League, thinking obviously we should just roll Sevilla, and it seems to be these games that we fall over in, and then we come out to a game like last night where absolutely true. We come out to a game like last night where no one expects us to win. Everyone that was talking about the game was expecting Man City to go out and hammer us. I think us secretly wouldn't have been surprised if City had come out and rolled us over. Just the way we've been playing and the way that City have been playing, to give them credit, they've been playing really well. But once again, Ollie performed when no one expected him to, and that seems to be where this team is at just now. We were fantastic, first minute to last. There was obviously there was a couple of complaints, like we said in the group chat, about 20 minutes in that we were being battered, we all expected to be battered. We're coming to Manchester City, who are on a 21-game win streak. They are the best
games
team in Europe.
Before that.
Exactly. They're the best team in Europe by a distance right now. They've got a brilliant coach under Guardiola. Everyone seems to be firing. We're going to be under pressure. We're going to struggle. We're going to not have the ball a lot. But the difference between the team that played this game and the team that's played the games and the points that we've dropped in past is obviously the defence was a much higher line, but there was a lot of belief in that team, and there was a press and there was an energy about every single person, from Henderson coming out and catching corners to Martial pressuring the defender on the ball, and that energy carried through the whole game, and that's what won us the game in the end. We came out the traps quickly, managed to get a penalty nice and early. It was a stupid tackle by Gabriel Jesus. There's not even Liverpool fans that could argue that that's not a penalty.
How can anyone like I'm just gonna say here, like, how can I've seen City fans, 'cause I'm friends with one or two City fans on social media, and they're saying another penalty, right? And then you see Liverpool fans complain about that penalty as well. All different fans complain about that penalty. If you know football, that's a penalty. That's clumsy defending. Not exactly. Ankle and also goes on his calf. So how in God's name that isn't a penalty? I don't know. You need to go to Specsavers. Some of you people you really need that.
He pulls his arm back because he thinks he's going to pull him, and then he clatters into the back of his leg, and Martial quite rightly goes down, and we get the penalty. And the VAR, the clue that it wasn't clear and obvious, or the clue that it wasn't, the VAR check was about 8 seconds. I think Bruno picked up the ball and put it on the spot, and by that time they checked it, and it was like, yeah, it's a penalty. And to be fair to the referee, and I said when it was given, good on the referee to have the balls to give that decision 40 seconds into a derby. Because there's a lot of referees, and we've seen a lot of decisions in the last few weeks where, even in smaller games, where the referees have hid behind VAR and not given it, and then forced VAR to overturn a decision. So you've got to give the referee credit yesterday. 40 seconds into a Manchester derby with all the hype that it's got, to just do your job and know, right, that's a penalty, and to take the context out of the game and to give that penalty, that you need to give. Obviously, we give referees slander and everything like that when they get things wrong. I thought the referee yesterday had an excellent game, and he got that decision absolutely spot on. And it makes VAR's job easier when the referees are getting decisions right. And that's exactly what it did. But we were great yesterday, front to back. I thought we were brilliant. We kept City's ball playing players out of the game. De Bruyne, I don't think he had a couple of chances. He had a couple of passes and crosses into the box, but that's just about it. And maybe on another day, a couple of those fall at the back post for City, but they didn't, and that's all that matters. So we absolutely did surprise them, and we came out the box quick, and we quite rightly deserved the win. So.
Yeah, and so to come to Jamie's comment here. Jamie says, the way we approach the game, they'll shock City on the front foot from the whistle. I think that's very important. Like when you actually look at the game itself, like literally from the first whistle, we're on it. Likes of Daniel James pressing, likes of Rashford pressing, Bruno pressing, Mark. Like, I'll be honest, right? No, you seen me in the group chat before the game yesterday, and I said this on Adam's channel last night. when I seen Anthony Martial was their starting number 9 yesterday, I was like, that might be the right thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Martial starting Ruben Diaz. I said, I'll actually quote myself here. I said Ruben Diaz will be licking his lips seeing Martial starting, considering the form of Ruben Diaz and the form of Martial at the moment. Though the form book would tell you Ruben Diaz is going to have a field day. Do you know?
Yeah.
And I thought Mason Greenwood would start up front. But credit where credit's due, from the first minute, Martial, he was pressing. He was on the front foot. He was leading. Like, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Anthony Martial was leading the press yesterday. The likes of him. Then obviously Dan James. Well, you know what Dan James? He will always press. He will always press, and he actually always plays well against City as well. He done the same at he had last season. And he done very well in the game at Old Trafford last year. Like their style of play kind of, it suits him because they're going to play the high line, and Dan James can use his pace. He can exploit spaces, and I thought he actually played quite well yesterday. Daniel James, I thought he was a very good performer. But I think from 1 to 11 yesterday, you've seen everyone was just in sync. I know I'm coming harping back to that, but everyone seemed to just be like they're all on the same wavelength. I'm going to come to obviously where we do player ratings later on in the show, and in terms of what we think of every single player in terms of what we rated them for yesterday's game. But for me, like, I didn't think there was a player on the pitch that didn't put in 100%. And like we've seen from so many weeks, you look at West Brom, you look at the Palace game, you look at the Chelsea game, you look at Arsenal, you even go back as far as the game at Anfield. Like there's been so many games where we've been able to nitpick a player who hasn't been putting in a shift. We've been able to put in, say a player hasn't done this, hasn't done that. And obviously you do that when you look back in the game. But like I've watched, we talked off camera before we went live. Like we both said, we both rewatched the game, after obviously watching it for our first time. And when after watching the game, you could see it. Like all the players are really up for this game. They're all like from start to finish. Obviously, there was like in both halves, both first and second half, there was a spell where Manchester City were more superior. They got a grip of the ball and they created half chances. Like I say half chances because there's not really clear cut. But when you look at it, we bossed this game on a 90-minute basis. Like I thought our in-game management, like in terms of managing the game, it was a very professional like performance. And to go to the Etihad, which is a really tough place to go and get something out of there, is quite good. In that respect. But really, just all in all, I didn't like. I want like when you look at the game. Obviously, you have the adrenaline and you have like it's a derby and you're gonna be on edge. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really feel at any point as the game grew on that Manchester City were going to trouble us, because even when we pressed high, I felt like Henderson could sweep. I thought Scott McTominay and Fred, from a defensive aspect, they'd done very well. Even Bruno, do you notice Bruno wasn't as high up the pitch yesterday?
Yeah, he dropped slightly deeper to try and pick up the ball slightly deeper. So therefore, taking his own creativity out of the game, but helping the team. It was a proper leader's performance from Bruno. And you see that again on the rewatch more than you do live, if you're trying to look at individual things. Yeah,
like I looked at that yesterday when I rewatched the game the second time yesterday. And I looked at Bruno's performance. And obviously, I'm not just going to single out Bruno because everyone knows I'm like a big Bruno Fernandez fan or whatever. But just looking at the overall work rate of the team in terms of where the players were in the pitch. Like you look at Bruno Fernandez's positions on the pitch yesterday, and he was dropping back and he was doing great defensive work. And United almost played nearly with a 4-3-3 yesterday, but with the way, if you actually look at the midfield shape, like Bruno was almost nearly always to the right, of the three. He was always covering that right channel. Fred was always to the left. And Scott McTominay actually picked up a lot of positions in a defensive kind of midfield role. Because notice when we played out from the back yesterday, Scott McTominay was always the deepest player. Mm-hmm. Was always the deepest player yesterday. And it was a very good performance from our midfield. I thought our midfield done fantastically well yesterday from a defensive aspect in terms of work rate.
Yeah.
One player, obviously we talked about, was Anthony Martial, and Shane's in the comments here. Shane said Martial hold-up play was brilliant, bully Diaz and Stones. Yeah. I thought Martial, he was outstanding. All he was missing was a goal, like literally from his performance. It was such a complete performance as a number 9, and it's his best performance of the season. I think we can both agree on that. Like with Martial, that was that was his best performance.
Yeah, absolutely was, and he should have had the goal as well. He got that chance in the second half that if that falls to any other player in that Man United team, they'd probably bury it because they're playing with so much confidence. Martial probably feels sort of like an outsider coming into that 11 just now, but he needs to just, if he can put in performances like that, he just needs to do that more often and work hard. And he did, and he worked hard and got the reward yesterday because players were looking up. And rather than what I feel like they do a lot of the time when Martial sulks himself out of games, is they avoid him, they pass through him, they pass round him, they don't pass to him to get him to hold up play and then make the runs. Whereas yesterday's work ethic proved that he was deserving of the ball, and when he got the ball, he was good with it. And his hold-up play was brilliant because it allowed Man United to get out a bit. And obviously what you said about the work rate as well as everyone, they pointed it out on, I was watching Match of the Day 2 last night, and they pointed it out that in the defensive end of things, no one was isolated at any point. The only time really that any player was isolated was if they had a counter-attack and they were screening against either Wan-Bissaka or Shaw. But when when Man United were pressing Man City, or when there was a ball going in behind, it was two people go in to make sure that Lindelof and Maguire, who are not the quickest centre halves, they always had someone there to cover them. And I thought Lindelof yesterday, and Lindelof over the last couple of weeks, has been absolutely phenomenal. From the stick that he had a few weeks ago, everyone obviously wants Bailly, which would be great if we could guarantee Bailly being fit, brilliant, play him all the time, but we can't. And Lindelof's good, and we need to not forget exactly what Lindelof's doing and what he's putting his body through for Man United this season. He was told to get back surgery, and he said he wants back surgery at the end of the season because he wants to play the season out. It would have been very easy for Lindelof to just go take the surgery and be out for the whole season, and Man United would have been with Tuanzebe and Maguire for most of the campaign, and we would be looking at a very different position. And he puts his body on the line every single time. Lindelof, he's not the most skilled on the ball, we know that. He's not the greatest in the air, we know that. But his positional play yesterday, and I think he really supported Wan-Bissaka really well. Wan-Bissaka has a tendency sometimes, especially when playing against a three up front, to drift inside a lot and leave a lot of room for the player to get in behind. We saw it against Leipzig, when they scored their 2 goals, was Angelino getting in behind. And I think Lindelof did a brilliant job yesterday of keeping Wan-Bissaka in line and keeping them in possession. He really bossed that right-hand side of the defence, and then obviously Wan-Bissaka did his thing against Sterling and absolutely pocketed him.
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka again, a fantastic performance for him again against a big team. And Wan-Bissaka is going to have to get a new coat, a new pants, because he's going to have to get one of them Sunday League coats. He's going to have to get Mbappe in this pocket, and Neymar in this pocket, Sterling in the back pocket. Yeah, you can go on doing and the players he's have to pocket, and Sadio Mane in another pocket. Do you know what I mean? There's so many players.
He's phenomenal
at the moment, and it's quite great to see. And I was going to come to a comment on Facebook. I'm just going to come to a comment on our Facebook Live, because the Facebook comments don't actually pop up on their screen for some reason. It's weird. I'm going to have to get that fixed. But it says Briney Landers is watching us live. Shout out to Briney. Briney said it's amazing how good United look when our centre forward gets involved in the game. I think that comes to the other comment. Then it comes in the YouTube here as well from Blackwood Maguire. He said Martial was like he had a massive point to prove. I think United fans looked at that performance from Martial yesterday. He was holding up the ball yesterday. He was pressing, and he was when he had the ball, he was taking players on as well. He was doing everything he'd done last season. Mm-hmm. I think he probably looked at his last couple of performances in the last couple of weeks, and the jury was out on Martial the last couple of weeks. I said that his time at Manchester United is up. I thought, and I still probably at the moment it's still the jury's still out. In terms of long term, is he the number 9 to be Manchester United's number 1, number 9? Though if you want to go on and challenge the titles going forward, but that was the Martial from last season that we seen in terms of his overall play as our number 9. We seen a similar performance when he played City at Old Trafford last year before the lockdown. He played so well and he scored that day. Literally, he done all the exact same things in that game yesterday that he did last season. Mm-hmm. He was just missing the goal. But other than that, I thought he was fantastic yesterday, and he done so many things well. And like again, I hold my hands up and I apologize. Obviously, I got it wrong. Like in terms of when I seen the starting lineup yesterday, I said, look, you're there for proof, Greg. I said I was hoping Greenwood would start up front and why we playing Martial, but no, I hold my hands up, like, and I be humble when I say it. Like when I prove wrong by a player, I hold my hands up and be humble. And this is one of them situations. Martial absolutely proved me wrong yesterday, and I love that. Like I love when a United player goes out there and proves me wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it benefits us. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like I stick my opinion in the bin if it means Man United go and win the game. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the United. That's the most important thing. Like Jamie's in the comments. Jamie has said, "That's the Martial we keep and not sell." Look, I'll call a spade here right now. If Martial plays like that for the rest of the season and he can score goals and we win an FA Cup and an Europa League and we cement second place, then by all means, 100% yes. Do you know you keep him? Do you know what I mean? You keep him for a season and see if he can push that on, because if he plays like that continuously for the rest of the season, he might get called up for the France squad for the Euros. Do you know, like it's quite possible. But he just has to do it on a consistent basis. And if he does it on a consistent basis, I feel like I'm saying this nearly on every show, that if we can get Martial, Greenwood, those scoring goals, that we can cement that second place. But if he shows that week in, week out, as fans, as Manchester United fans, we will not be upset with his performances and his commitment, because at the end of the day, you can see he's trying. Like, it's all well and good now doing that against City in a derby, because look, everyone's up for a derby game. Do you know, like everybody, like it's easy to get up for a derby game. It's against your rivals across the city. It's against the best team in the league, best team in Europe at the moment, in my opinion. You have to do it now more consistently. Like, we're playing AC Milan later on in the week. We're playing West Ham on the weekend. They're now the games you go out. You go out there and you put in performances like that, because then you show then that you are a consistent player, and you can take that stigma away from that Martial is an inconsistent player. Because he still has them doubters. Even last year when he was playing well, there was still that little attachment to him that he doesn't have commitment. He's not a consistent player. If he continue play the way he did yesterday, then doubters will go. Do you know what I mean? As you see, another player, but. Reese in the comments, so Reese in the house, shout out to Reese. Reese says it's a consistency issue for me. He has to keep showing this and he starts scoring regularly. Look, I'll reiterate my point. If he can keep doing that, like keep doing what he done yesterday, I think Martial can be an important player for us going on for the rest of the season. Again, it just comes down to that point that he just needs to pick it up now and start delivering these performances on a more consistent basis, to keep his place in the team. Because I think you could even see with Solskjaer last week, or was it the week before, like Solskjaer was having to tell him to move. I can't think what game. It was a game at Old Trafford. I think it might have been Sheffield United. I'm not too sure. Someone might correct me in the comments. But he was playing up front and Solskjaer was actually shouting at him to move. So like, look, it's just one of them things at the moment. You just have to move on, and you just have to hope that he can continue these performances, going forward. But kind of when you look at yesterday's game, like I think you look at Marcus Rashford yesterday, people criticize decision making, people criticize kind of his overall games in the last couple of weeks. Like I'm a big defender of Marcus Rashford, because not only has he been good, like, this season in terms of his numbers, and people can criticize decision making, people can criticize kind of some performances he's had this season. But for me, Marcus Rashford yesterday, the way he tracked back yesterday to intercept that ball, he ran 60 yards. Now, consequently, he won the ball and he defended well, and then he got injured. In terms of Rashford's injury, I just hope with Marcus Rashford that that he's not, the injury's not too serious. No, the scans today, so I'm hoping, praying that Rashford's injury isn't too serious, and hopefully he can get back on the pitch soon. But like, for yourself, Greg, like, what did you think of Marcus Rashford yesterday compared to other games?
He was absolutely brilliant yesterday, and I think he played a lot. Like, he stretched the play so well yesterday. He didn't make very many of those inside runs to get the ball in behind. All his runs were out wide and try to force the defence to go out wide, because the way that City play, when Cancelo tucks in, it forces Stones to go out wide. And that's what Rashford wanted. Rashford wanted Stones somewhere there he wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've said it for a while now. Rashford's best when he's played out wide, and there's nothing wrong with accepting you're a wide player. You don't have to be a number 9. And if he can put in those sort of performances from out on that flank, then he's going to play there all the time. I know he plays there just now anyway, and obviously a lot of decision making and things like that. But he didn't have too many decisions to make yesterday, and was still absolutely fantastic because he wasn't getting the ball in areas where Martial should be picking it up, which I think is sometimes the issue with when him and Martial play together. They sort of blend into one, and they sort of, like, Rashford can pick the ball up central with Martial out wide, and it just seems to stagnate and stop. Whereas yesterday, everything seemed flowing. Even when we were on the counter, the very few counters we got in that first half for about the last 25 minutes or 20 minutes of the first half, where we were dominated. When we got the ball out wide, we were quick and decisive and got the ball to Rashford, and then Rashford really stretched the play. And yeah, I agree with that comment as well. I thought McTominay was McTominay's been brilliant. McTominay, I will not stop singing the praises of Scott McTominay. He's brilliant. I think yesterday looked slightly weaker in that first half because Fred was having a mare. Fred was running around a lot and running really hard and working hard, but the passes weren't coming off and everything like that. And you could see he was trying. He wasn't not trying, and that's the thing. He doesn't do it from a lack of trying. It's pretty much a lack of ability sometimes with Fred. And McTominay was having to do his job as well. But I thought in that second half, the way that they just trust McTominay to pick up the ball at the edge of their own 18-yard box with 2 City defenders closing them down, and they back Scott McTominay to turn and accelerate through the gap and get the ball moving forward. It's unbelievable. But like you said, the whole team front to back was good. But back to the Rashford thing, I think if he stays fit, so hopefully the scan comes back and he's not too hurt. I can't imagine, regardless whether the scan comes back, that it's only a small injury or whatever, that I can't imagine he'll play on Thursday anyway. That the key is trying to see if we can get him fit for West Ham. But yeah, it would be brilliant to see him just maintain that form and play that wide position and not feel like he has to cut inside every single time to score a goal. Because he still got chances yesterday playing on that left hand side, and then he can do what he does best at the edge of the box, where he can quick feet and cut inside and then get his shot. He doesn't have to make the cut and run at the halfway line or 30 yards in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, again, he's such an important player to this team, Marcus Rashford, and he's someone who, I rate really highly. And the fact that Matt raising, I always have to come back to this point, and people criticize him over decision making, people criticize him over certain things he does. People tend to forget this, and I will have to come back to this point, is 2 years of Marcus Rashford's development at a young age. He's still only 23. He's still not fully developed yet. People need to remember this. Marcus Rashford is not fully developed yet. And 2 years his development were stalled with Jose Mourinho because he didn't have him playing consistently, and Jose Mourinho didn't have him playing in his proper positions. And I think, you've seen under Ollie, Marcus Rashford is continuously developing, continuously improving. His numbers you've seen that by the numbers he's pulling up. Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, people have to remember, 2 years his development were taken out of his game, and he had someone in Jose Mourinho, who's finished in this game really, and can finish it, who ended his development by 2 years. So you have to look at that, and you have to say people need to get off Rashford's back, because he's improving every season. He's only 23 years of age. I heard a comment made recently that Rashford's 23. He's not young anymore. Are you joking me? No, are you joking me? That was a ridiculous comment I heard. Because truth be told, 23 is a really young age still for developing in football. You don't hit your peak in football between 27 to 31. Right? So, to say that 23 is not a young age anymore, I think that's it's borderline ridiculous, because you're still developing. Even up to 25 years of age, there's still room for development there. Do you know what I mean? It's just he's not the finished article yet, and there's still plenty of time to develop. And he has someone in Ollie who's a striker, who can help him in terms of getting in the right positions and getting in movements. People might criticize him over other aspects of coaching. I get that. But people can't deny that since Ollie's come in, he's improved Rashford. Do you know what I mean?
He's improved a lot of players individually. It's just whether we've improved tactically as a team is maybe where Ollie is is sort of hung out to dry a little bit. He's improved because if you look front to back in that team of players that have improved since Ollie came in, you've got Lindelof in there who yesterday played absolutely brilliantly and he's been solid. Under Mourinho, he didn't look like he could play at all. He's got Luke Shaw performing like the best fullback in the league. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka was his signing, so brilliant signing for him. Bruno was, of course, his signing.
I'll be back in 1 second, Greg. Continue there.
That's fine. You had McTominay, of course, that came through as a young guy and maybe wasn't seen as the greatest, or maybe wasn't seen as the next option. But he was fantastic yesterday. He's been brilliant all season. And you've got Rashford as well. So obviously he can individually improve players, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He can, and he clearly has a good relationship with the players, and the team clearly plays for them. You see that even in games that we drop points. It's not teams down. It's not as down in tools. It's maybe just that lack of tactical nous and tactical prowess to, okay, they've got a low block. What do we do? Right, we need to shift the ball quickly left to right and get it into a target man or something like that. It's maybe he does need a couple more players to do that job. So tactically, he might lack a little bit. But in terms of individual coaching, if you were to say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hasn't improved players' individual performances since coming in, you would just be lying, because he's taken players that would have been seen under Mourinho as average and not had a future, especially Shaw.
Yeah.
Shaw 2 years. If you take when Ollie first came in, and I'll put my hands up. Last year, I wanted Shaw. This summer at the start of the season, I wanted Shaw out of the club. I didn't want him here. He was one of the few things remaining from that era, from the David Moyes, Louis van Gaal era, where everything just went wrong. And it felt like if Ollie was going to do things right, he had to get rid of those players. And players like Luke Shaw that weren't performing and were happy to just sort of sit and take a wage. And then when they come on, not try, then we didn't need them in the club. But it seems since Telles has come in, Shaw's just decided that no, this is going to be his spot now. He's going to be a left back and Telles is going to be a rotation option. And he was brilliant again yesterday. So Ollie's clearly said something. Ollie's might have shown a bit of belief in Shaw. Because obviously we had Mourinho for 2 years, call him fat and lazy and doesn't work hard and everything like that. And I was speaking this about you earlier, and it's maybe on a more general basis. There was a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and it's basically when thinking of it, I was having a look, and there's a couple of people online that are taking this as well. And if you were to think about the idea in this book, like thinking fast is like if you look at Man United or individual players, like Man United over the last few weeks, we're rubbish. We're not playing well. We can't beat teams. And that's like fast thinking. Then you think slow thinking, you're like, no, well, we've still got like a young team and we're now outperforming XG, whereas last season we were really below under it. And we're playing really well just now. And then there's also a bit in it that's on about expectations and how actual expectations can genuinely change people's behaviours. So it's talking about an experiment from a scientist called Bob Rosenthal, who once went down to his lab and he had basically lab rats and he had signs and basically put up signs saying some rats are stupid and some rats are very smart. And then over 6 months, he tested these rats for cognitive tests. The ones with the signs in their pen that said they are stupid had the worst scores, and the ones in the pens that had signs saying they were smart, they had the best scores. So maybe, and so taking that into human, maybe a manager coming out and saying you're fat, you're lazy, you're not working hard, you're this, you're that, doesn't work, and maybe that player starts to believe it a little more. So maybe what Shaw needed, and maybe what this Man United team needed, was someone to come in like Ollie and just go, "You're good. You're a good team. We're a couple players short of. I believe we are. We're a couple players short of challenging. Yeah. We're not miles off. We're certainly much closer than we've been since Fergie. But maybe what this Man United team need, and especially Shaw and maybe Rashford and a couple others, were just someone to come in and just put their arm on their shoulder and go, "You're a good footballer. You're playing for Man United because you deserve to be here." And that's maybe where that's where Ollie excels. That's where I don't think there's a man like him that could take this Man United job in terms of man management, because he's getting the absolute pinnacle out of some of these players. If his tactical knowledge comes along with it, absolutely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the man going forward. But we do need to start working out how to beat things like a low block, because it's now been 2 years and we're struggling to beat teams like Palace and Sheffield United, and it's getting a bit samey now. So if that bit comes along with all his man management, then there's absolutely the sky's the limit for this Man United team. But the way he's improved the players individually, if you can't see that, then I don't think you're a Man United fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, look, there's I suppose when you look at the people who are supposedly Ollie out, they won't see that. Do you know what I mean? In terms of progress we have made under him, in terms of certain players coming on, they're just they have their physical agendas. Look, leave them be. That's the way I look at it. I don't bother getting into fights with them or anything like that online or anything, because they're some of their opinions and agendas are irrational, and they don't have evidence to back it up either. And I'm not going to call them out by name, because look, at the end of the day, that there's no good doing that, and you know yourself who they are, like, in terms of that. Yeah. But there was a question here from Terence. I think this relates to all Premier League teams. He says that, do you think the way football is going, Premier League in the Premier League, that teams need strikers like wingers and doing most of the work in games? Do you know, like, in terms, like, I think what he means by that is, like, in terms of high press, in terms of the collective for teams, I think what Terence means by that question is that you need kind of your team to be collectively organised, that you need all the teams to be kind of on the same hymn sheet, and, like, in terms of you need work rate out of your number 9. Do you know what I mean? Because there's not many number 9s out there at the moment, like, at the moment who are lazy. I think gone are the days where you can just have a number 9 up there who can just finish. You need a bit more. And you even see that people say that about Harry Kane, that he's number 9 who just finishes. That's massively off the mark. I think he's someone who works very hard in there, creates as well. Like, I think with number 9 now, you need to be more than just a goal scorer. You need that bit of work rate. Like, people can talk about top strikers in the world. Erling Haaland, his movement is brilliant. Like, what he does on and off the ball, it's quite class. Like, he's a very good player. Kylian Mbappe, another one, someone who has great movement, great pressing. Players like that as well. Like, you look at Martinez and at Inter Milan, another fantastic forward. Someone who does a bit of everything. Like, even though we don't like the man, but Luis Suarez was someone that pressed in the front and he can do absolutely everything. I think when you actually look at, like, number 9s these days, they do need to have a bit of everything. I think that's what Terence is alluding to. Like, I think with the Martial situation, that you do need to have more than just be a cold, ice cold finisher when you're a striker. You do need that. You do need that presence. You do need that work rate. You do need to create. You need to link play up. You need to hold up the ball. I think nowadays, as a number 9 in the Premier League, and especially that, you can't just have one element of your game at the top level. You do need to have X, Y, and Z to progress that bit more. In that regard. So, like, look, I think I agree. I think that with the way the Premier League's going, you can't just be a finisher, especially at the top level. Like, if you're talking about top 6 strikers, so top 6, I suppose I'll nearly have to go as far as top 8, because there's a certain club in 8 at the moment. Even with Roberto Firmino, like, he does a lot of work rate in there as well. Like,
he just can't do the other side. Yeah, he can't do the other side. Like, what? Can't do anything else.
Yeah, but, like, what you looked at previously, like last year, obviously, and the year before, he did score a couple of goals. So, but, like, credit where it's due. Like, but, like, when you look at the strikers for all them teams, like, you look City, obviously, you might look at Jesus and you say, right, he leaves a bit to be desired up front, but when they play the false 9 and they play like Foden there, or they play Gundogan there, or when they play Bernardo Silva, Sterling there, so they do a lot of work rate up front. You look at United, obviously, when we play Greenwood there or Cavani there, like the movements there, the work rates there, they bring players in and out of play. Martial done it yesterday on one occasion. Let's see if he can do it again. Like, I think that's what it is.
You look at
Chelsea,
exactly where Martial.
And you even look at Chelsea, Greg, like, they have Werner to do all that, like, to get in behind and to, like, create chances. But they also have Olivier Giroud, who's someone who brings players into play. He's good in the air. He has a bit of everything, bar pace. Like, even look at Everton, David Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin. Like, they've a bit of everything up front. I think when you look at the top teams in this league, there's not for a few of them players there, you do need to have a bit of everything. Because if you want to press, if you want to create chances, when you're a striker, you have to be very well rounded. I think we can absolutely, we can agree in that. Just looking into going into a couple more comments and just on the stream here today. Terence was actually a City fan, and he's in the comments. Shout out to Terence. He said, "I feel like with City as well, they play Jesus, but they don't need him on the pitch. Is it the same at Martial?" I think they're probably similar players in terms of probably work rate, in terms of what their movement is up front. But I say Martial is probably a slight bit ahead of Jesus in terms of maybe you look at numbers from like last season and you look at Jesus this year in terms of consistency. Probably in both at fans' eyes, they're both inconsistent. But I think Martial is probably a better player. Slightly, I'd say, because he's a bit more to his game in terms of hold-up play, in terms of maybe bringing players in there.
I think with Jesus, I thought he actually had a quite a good game yesterday. In terms, he obviously got a couple of chances, ran himself into the post, which looked body sore as well. But I think with Jesus, if you've got to look, obviously he's playing in that Pep Guardiola system, and then you're looking at Martial, who's had ample opportunities in this Man United side. And you're right, the work rate is you probably would say it's the exact same in terms of finishing. When Jesus has confidence and he's playing well, then his finishing seems to be there, and it seems to be the same with Martial. But I slightly agree that City look better. I was honestly surprised yesterday when they played when they played yesterday, and they played without a false nine. I was expecting De Bruyne to play as a false nine, sort of like Foden playing out wide, because it makes it so much harder for centre halves to pick up. And it's obviously not Jesus' fault. I just think he's maybe a player lacking a bit of confidence and a bit of where he belongs in that side. Like Martial yesterday knew that he was going to be the man to get the ball into feet and to take the pressure off by holding it up. Whereas like Jesus doesn't do that. Like that's not his job. That's not how City play. City are going to, and I just think sometimes maybe in that Pep system that he's lacking a bit of a role. He just needs to be sometimes, because he's not a focal point, and City don't have a focal point of an attack like the other teams.
Aguero's not fit either.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like they go a lot out wide, obviously, to Sterling and Mahrez to try and get goals and things like that. So I just think with Jesus, he just lacks a bit of a role in that side. If they were to, I don't think they will get rid of him. I think they'll keep him. I think they might get rid of Aguero this summer and obviously bring in a striker. No, I'm not going to say his name, but we know who's going there. 100%.
We know who's going there. If it happens, oh fuck, do you know what I mean? Like I know I shouldn't be swearing at 20-4 on a show, but yeah, call it off if they get him. If they get him, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
but
exactly. And then you've got to ask, where does that leave Jesus? Because is he going to want to sit and be another backup? Because obviously he was brought in originally thinking he could be the heir to Aguero, which is going to be high praise in general, to be the heir to Aguero. Aguero's one of the greatest strikers the Premier League's seen. He's phenomenal in his day. It's just a shame how sort of the last couple of years have gone. He's not been able to play as many games or anything like that. So you got to then look if they do bring in who they think they're going to bring in, and then he's just going to really look and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be a backup. Yeah, I'm going to be a backup to him. I don't know. I just feel like maybe in another system he just thrives when he's a focal point, and he just struggles a bit in that Man City team. Whereas Martial yesterday knew he was going to be the focal point. So again, maybe it was just had that extra little spring in his step, knew exactly what his role was. Whereas it seems to be with City yesterday, especially with Jesus, he didn't quite know what he was doing.
Yeah, I think he's someone who I think he's someone who's Jesus probably at a bit of a crossroads at City in terms of what's going to happen with him, because if they get Haaland or someone like that in there, time's up for him. Like he's not going to get a sniff, because that's not going to happen. But look, enough about them anyway. So I'm not really worried about that club, to be honest with you, in terms of their current situation, what's going to happen to them. Because at the end of the day, it's a United show, devil's advocate, and we all talk about Manchester United. But obviously, we're going to get to player ratings now on the show, because this is a very big part, obviously, of a review. We're going to rate players 1 to 11. We're going to just rate the starting 11 in terms of the team. Obviously, Greenwood kind of made a cameo appearance as well. He'll get a rating as well, but the other two subs, obviously Matic and Brandon Williams, they're kind of NA because they were literally in the last minute of the game. They didn't really have much. We couldn't really give an honest rating with them. So we're literally going to rate 1 to 11 and Mason Greenwood, cool. For the show. So first of all, our number one yesterday, our goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. What's your thoughts?
10. He was phenomenal. He just commands everything. I said it in the group chat earlier on. How much calmer do Maguire and Lindelof look, either when the ball gets played in behind or when they're on the ball, knowing that they've got a keeper that's quick off his line like Dean Henderson. And Henderson yesterday took all threat out of that game when the ball came in, because every cross that came in, he was keen to go and get it and just nullify the situation. And I would much rather 99 times out of 100 if Henderson comes out and catches that risking it for the one time that he fails to punch it, or he drops it and it goes in. I'll take that over what seems to be that De Gea does, is sit in his line and invite that pressure and just let people pile on top of him. I thought Henderson was brilliant yesterday, and they said on commentary De Gea would be looking and thinking, well, this guy's coming from a spot, and he 100% is, and I think he should be United's number one, but absolutely 10 out of 10 yesterday from Henderson.
10 out of 10, that's fair enough. I can see as to why you gave Henderson a 10. Me, I have to be a bit more pragmatic with it, because he didn't have much to do, but when he was called upon, he did pull off a good save. And the assist I won't call it the assist, but his throw to
third pass
to Luke Shaw was class. And I watched the video today. It was kind of reminiscent of Peter Schmeichel in terms of presence, getting the ball and then throwing it.
Yep.
Like, I seen it. United actually posted the video. In terms of that, it was very Schmeichel-esque in terms of that. But I'm going to give him an 8. Because when he did that throw was very good. Like, because obviously I can't give him a 10 because there's someone else for me is man of the match. So like, in terms of, like, he put off a good save and like his presence and his throw, and he helped the back forward to be more confident. So very good performance for Dean Henderson. I'll give him an 8 out of 10 because he was very commanding. His presence was there, and his in terms of that, he was a good goalkeeper, and he's had to prove in the last 2 games that he's after playing now in terms of starting in the Premier League that David De Gea has a bit of a battle now in his hands to keep that number 1 shirt. Let's go straight to our fullbacks. First of all, Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Go 8.5 for Wan-Bissaka.
8.5, okay. Yeah.
8.5, yeah. I thought he was excellent again. Of course, pocket Sterling. That's just the norm now. I thought his positioning was so much better. He could do a little bit more on the ball still. He's still lacking that little bit. When he gets the ball, he looks a bit like rabbit in the headlights, that he doesn't quite know what to do and where to go with it. And maybe on another day that comes back to bite us, but it didn't yesterday. And I thought defensively he was brilliant, positionally great, kept Sterling out of the game. So yeah, 8.5, I would say.
8.5 out of 10. For me, I'd probably give him an 8 as well. I thought he was quite solid at right back. Again, he kept Sterling in his pocket for large parts of the game. And again, look, he just bullied him again. Again, look, going forward, we all know it's not the strongest aspect of his game. But to be fair to him, done very well defensively. And again, another consistent performance from Wan-Bissaka. And you're seeing now in these last couple of weeks, he's starting to get that back to the Wan-Bissaka of last season in terms of being very astute defensively. And if he can continue that for the rest of the season, that'd be massive for our back four. Coming to the next left back, the next fullback, our left back, Mr. Luke Shaw.
Yeah, well, I was going to say when I gave Henderson's rating, there's 2 players that I gave a 10 to. One's Henderson, the other one's Shaw. I thought Shaw was brilliant yesterday. Of course, got his goal that was unexpected. I was stunned when it went in. But his work rate yesterday was the big thing for me. Like, obviously, he's coming up against Mahrez. Mahrez is a brilliant footballer, a brilliant player, especially at Premier League level. He's a great winger, and it was obviously going to be a test for Shaw. I think Shaw just did an absolutely excellent job of trying to keep Mahrez at bay. Very rarely let him cut in on his left foot to allow him to hit a shot, which was great. But his work rate yesterday, defence to attack, he was leading counter attacks, bombing past Rashford. He was absolutely brilliant. So that's my only other 10 match rating.
10, yes, so you're giving Luke Shaw 10 from me. I'm going to give Luke Shaw 9.5. He's getting 9.5 off me. I'm going to be honest, nobody in my thing today is going to get a 10, but 9.5 for Luke Shaw for me. Absolutely fantastic. Going forward yesterday, he's been a revelation these last couple of weeks, and I've said it before in the show, apart from Bruno Fernandez, he's been our best player this season. He's just been a fantastic footballer. And again, Ollie deserves massive credit for the treatment of Luke Shaw and how he's done fantastically well. In terms of that, because you've seen the boost in confidence that it's given Luke Shaw. And you're seeing now that Luke Shaw is becoming a very important player in the squad. When you see when he doesn't play, the effect it has on the team, not only defensively, but also from even an offensive aspect of the game. Like he's someone who's very important to how we play going forward, especially as a left back. So I think he's a very good progressive left back, even though, right, I know you're Scottish, Greg, and you're probably hoping that he doesn't start against Scotland in the Euros. And I'm Irish. I have no invested interest in England and how they do in the European Championships this summer. But Luke Shaw has to be on that plane. Not only does he have to be on the plane, but he also has to be a starting left back for England in the Euros next summer. 100%. I think, Ben Chilwell's an all right left back, right? But Luke Shaw has been the best left back in England this season. So, in that regard, I think you have to look at it and you have to say Luke Shaw massively deserves, all the praise in the world at the moment. And, essentially what, with regards to it, essentially why Luke Shaw needs to be on that plane for England in the Euros this summer. But 9.5 for Luke Shaw, fantastic performance, well taken finish. And I seen a video this morning of Luke Shaw's goal with Titanic music. Oh God, it was beautiful, beautiful to watch. It was reminiscent of Scott McTominay scoring that halfway line goal against City at Old Trafford last year.
A year today that goal went in.
Yeah, 2-0, 12 months apart. Things you'd love to see. Coming to our centre backs, Lindelof and Maguire. Victor Lindelof first. What would you give him as a rating?
Probably. I think Lindelof had a better game than Maguire yesterday, so I'd probably say an 8 for Lindelof. I thought he was really good considering the pressure that he's been under as well to perform. And no one wants him in that side. Everyone wants Bailly, it seems. Every time you look at Twitter and things like that, you see people complain that Lindelof's starting over Bailly. And yesterday, Solskjaer was justified in his decision to start Lindelof. He was brilliant. He was calm on the ball. His positioning was really good. He made a couple of last-ditch blocks to try and get the ball to go wide or go over the bar or something like that. So, I'll say an 8 for Lindelof.
This is mad. I think Lindelof played well yesterday, but I thought Maguire was better. It's mad how people see they look at the game, look at the game differently. This I love about going on podcasts, stuff like that. It's great to kind of get fan opinion and stuff like that. It's absolutely great. But you said if it licked Lindelof 8, Reece says 8.5 for Lindelof. I'm going to give Lindelof an 8 as well. I thought he was solid yesterday. I thought on the ball he was very assured. And he looked like the Lindelof of 2019, the 2018-19 season when we were all calling him the Iceman. He looked like that player. And one thing I always say about Lindelof, even I criticize him most of the time, right? Because I'm hard on players. That's just the way I am, But he looks like when he's 1v1 defending and when he's standing up against the man on the feet, Victor Lindelof's a very good defender in that aspect of defending. Very good at 100%. It. And he's a hard player to dribble past. So in that regard, he's very good at that aspect of defending. And I thought yesterday, positional wise, he was always in the right position. I think with Henderson behind him gave him a lot more confidence to know if I get caught, I have a commanding goalkeeper who will come out and sweep. Do you know what I mean? I think that's so important to your centre back's confidence in that regard. So we both went to an 8. Victor Lindelof. Reece in the comments went with 8.5. Rach has gone with Rach is Victor Lindelof FC. Rach has gone with, I don't know what that number is. That's
1,000 million? No,
1,000 million.
10,000 million, I think. Yeah. Go with that.
Oh, stop. Harry Maguire, our captain. What would you give Harry a rating?
I'll give Harry a 7.5. I did think he was really good, and probably if you'd asked me yesterday on the first watch what I thought of Maguire, it'd probably be higher. On the second watch of it, you see a couple of mistakes that he's accustomed to. He gets very close to giving away penalties and pulling defenders down. It makes me really uncomfortable because he's so physical. And it looked like a couple of times, I was like, if they go down here, the VAR's going to have a decision to make whether or not it's a penalty because his arms are all over him. But I thought positionally, again, he was really good. Again, he was allowed to play that high line. Maguire's slow, and he actually played a high line yesterday because of Henderson in behind. But I thought he was just slightly worse than Lindelof, so 7.5.
7.5 for Maguire. I'm just going to come to Kevin's comment before I give my my rating for Harry Maguire, because it's interesting that Kevin says this. He says, when you play deeper and do as much of the ball, then Lindelof and Maguire are fine, but when we play higher up, we need a more athletic centre half. I agree with that, but one thing I would say in defence of Lindelof Maguire yesterday, for large aspects of the game yesterday, we did play a high line when we pressed. We did try to take the game to City. So, like in that regard, I understand what Kevin's saying in terms of that, but like if we can be more progressive in games, we can play that partnership if they can have that same type of performance. But I think long term, I agree. I'm a huge advocate for Jules Koundé to come in as centre half beside Maguire, because I think he'd be the perfect partner for him. He's a world class defender. Great in the ball, has pace, and he's just very good overall. But yeah, look, I do agree with Kevin's comment that an athletic centre half is needed if we want to push up the pitch and don't really get at teams, you know. But looking at Harry Maguire, for me, I'm going to give Harry an 8.5. And the reason why I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be honest here, again, this is another player I need to apologise to today. Because when I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I like to be like, I like being wrong. I'll say it again. When my team plays well, they go out and win, my opinion means absolute shit if United go out and win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I absolutely, I'll admit when I'm wrong. And yesterday I was wrong. I was genuinely concerned about Harry Maguire playing yesterday. I thought like he could really get caught and exposed. But credit where it's due, Harry Maguire, very good in the air, very good in the ball, pushing forward. And I thought Harry Maguire's performance that he had yesterday was very reminiscent of Harry Maguire at Leicester in 2019. With one of his final games for Leicester City, when he played there for Leicester, no Vincent Kompany scored an absolute wonder goal that day, and that was ridiculous. And that helped City win the league. It was 1-0 win. That was very reminiscent of how Maguire was at Leicester in them games at Anfield and at Etihad Stadium, where he's the commanding centre half. He wins everything in the air, and he comes out with the ball, and he's confident. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say it justifies an £80 million price tag or anything like that. Like, when you look at Harry Maguire the way he was yesterday, he was commanding, and it was one of them performances where we look at him and we say, that's the Harry Maguire we want to see. That's the Harry Maguire we thought we were.
Exactly.
Getting when we first signed him, I see that he played quite well, and credit where credit's due for Harry. He done fantastically well yesterday. So I'm going to give him an 8.5 because he was quite fantastic. But I still don't think he's back to Harry Beckenbauer yet. I don't think we're going to be calling that again soon. And shout out to Saeed. But yeah, like I think, like look, he did play fantastically well yesterday, and he's someone who, look, if he can continue playing well, being consistent, then look, if it benefits us, so be it. Like, do you know what I mean? He has proved on certain games that he can play well. Sometimes he does make mistakes, but who doesn't? So, like, look, I think we just have to be happy with the way he played yesterday, and let's hope it continues. I think as Manchester United fans, we have to kind of hope that it goes that way. Come to Reese's comment here. Reese says, we have Henderson in goal now. Why not use this opportunity to give Tuanzebe a proper run of games, either beside Lindelof, Maguire? I think at the moment, Reese, you have to look at the defence and you have to say, let's stick with what's working at the minute. And let's not try fix something that isn't particularly broken. Like if you're bringing in anybody,
I don't rate Tuanzebe.
No, the thing is, if you're bringing in anybody, you bring in Boy. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're bringing in anyone to that back for, you're bringing Boy in. I think Tuanzebe is probably too early yet to bring him in. Good squad player though. Like player who can come in, but I think as the permanent centre back at the moment, probably not. You know.
Don't think he's good enough. I think he's too rash, and I just don't think he's of that quality. Eventually, like this potential, because he's 23 now, same age as Rashford he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
So eventually this he's going to be the next. Eventually the potential needs to start to show, and he's not showing it. He had one good game against, obviously played an excellent game against PSG, but then since then hasn't done anything. So I think obviously we're going to try, and I feel like a centre back will be targeted in the summer, so I don't see much point in trying to bring in a centre back to get settled now just to have them replaced. In the summer, I feel like getting through the end of the season, Maguire, Lindelof, and Bailly dropping in and out every so often, and then you can have a look in the summer. And if Man United are able to go and get a good centre half and one that fits the bill and what they're looking for in an athletic centre back to play alongside Maguire, then that's when you bring someone in to play in front of Henderson. But I think right now, you're absolutely right. Just stick with what we're happy with. Like nothing seems broken straight away. We've not conceded a lot of goals, to be fair. We've just not scored many. It's been the issue over the last sort of few weeks. It's not the conceding goals and anything like that. But I think while there's no problem there, it's probably best just to stick with Maguire and Lindelof.
Yeah, to stick with something that isn't broken at the moment. I think that's what you do, especially at this critical stage of the season. Like, look, obviously, with Europa League and stuff like that, we might see him come back in Thursday against Milan. It's very possible. But look, I suppose at the minute you just have to be mindful. You can't be experimenting at this stage of the season because we're coming towards the running now. We just we need to be sensible, in that regard. Just coming to our midfield pairing, Scott McTominay and Fred, as it's called. I'm going to come to the second part of that name, Mr. Fred. What was your rating for Fred yesterday?
Oh, Fred gets... I feel like 6.5 is harsh because he was... I'll go 6.5. I know that's harsh, but he didn't have a great game yesterday in terms of when he was on the ball. Obviously, his positioning is good and he works hard, and we know that Fred, and he's going to close down and everything like that. I just think on the ball, not quite everything clicked with what he was looking to do. A lot of his passes were cut out early and things like that. I just think he struggled yesterday, maybe with the intensity that City were pressing in that midfield, especially in the first half. I know that's harsh, but he's certainly had better games, and he is better than a 6.5. But yesterday it was a 6.5 performance.
Yeah, look, I look at Fred, and I think, right, look, he done, like, when you look at Fred, his work rate was there yesterday. Like, his passing wasn't, and like, again, like, I think we all know, like, on the ball he's probably not the best holding midfield player that's going to play in that midfield too. But I'll give him a 6.5 because of his work rate and because he did try to close players down. He did try to work in there, and he did play okay in small space in the game in terms of like the winning the ball back, but didn't do anything tremendous. But I'll give him a just above average 6.5. Shane, who is our main man, devil's advocate, Shane has gone 4 out of 10 for Fred and 6 out of 10 for Scott McTominay. Whoa. He's gone
4 out of 10 and we beat them 2-0 in their own turf. No one's allowed under a 5. That's just not. There's not 5's the base.
I don't think anyone can go under the 5. We comment from Tim. Shout out to Tim, does fantastic work. He does our clips for the show, and he has come on a couple of times too. Shout out to Tim. Tim has said Luke Shaw has been our player of the season so far. It's a toss-up between him and Bruno for me, because of without Bruno's goals, where we be. I think that's kind of the way I look at it, in that respect. Shane's kind of changed his stance on Scott McTominay's rating. Shane says 7 out of 10 for Scott McTominay, maybe. Go on, Shane, just give him the 7. Give Mr. Mac Sauce get a 7 there. And Reece says 5 out of 10 for Fred. But your fellow countryman, Scott McTominay.
I love him. Love him to bits. He's so good. He's so good, and he's so disrespected amongst people like other fans and other Premier League teams and just pundits and I don't think he gets anywhere near the credit that he deserves. With just how he played, like, because if the matter of fact is, if Man United bring in a holding midfielder and we stick to a 4-2-3-1, that player's coming in there to play alongside Scott McTominay, which is mental when Fred's a nearly £50 million signing. He played brilliantly again yesterday. I'll give him a 7. I'll put my bias aside. I'll give him a 7.5. Because every time he just calms everything down, he gives him that option, and he's so good on the ball. Like, he's ridiculously good on the ball. And he just gives that extra. And he didn't have to do much work between breaking the lines because that wasn't his job yesterday. His job wasn't to get forward. His job was to pick up the ball from deep and then get the ball forward to allow Man United to get out. It wasn't a case of making the runs in behind or making the runs through the gaps. So if I was to put my bias back in, it'd be a 9 out of 10 from McTominay. But in terms of looking at it objectively, it's probably a 7.5. I thought he was really good. I thought he's been standout all season, to be honest. He's been absolutely brilliant. It's just about time he starts getting some credit for what he does, because he's not a flashy player and he didn't cost £50 million. He didn't play for Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid or anything like that, but like, he's a better holding midfielder than some in other teams, and he just doesn't get the credit, I believe, probably for a couple of things. One, he's come through the academy, so he was a nobody a couple of years ago, and then also that he's Scottish, because you see players like that with John McGinn and things like that don't get the credit for being as good as they are. Good
defense.
Pogba won't be here.
McTominay
won't be here. Yeah, I don't think Pogba will be here. So I feel like if we want to sign a defensive mid and a centre back in the summer, I don't think we'll have Pogba. I can't see Pogba staying. I feel like that circus has gone a bit long. I feel like Raiola is going to cash in a lot this year, and Pogba's no longer the crown jewel that he's got. It used to be Pogba, it's now Haaland, obviously, but I feel like Pogba will be leaving in the summer of some kind.
Yeah, it depends. I want him to stay. I want Pogba to stay, but if he doesn't,
I'd love him to stay, but he's better out wide. He's better playing like slightly advanced on a, like it's either slightly advanced on the right or slightly advanced on the left. Like in a double pivot, he's so limited. Like he's just
what,
that's not what he's best.
don't think about it, go, Greg. This is what I say to you here. You sign defensive midfield player and you play 4-3-3. You have Pogba and Bruno on there. Pogba at the left side of a 3 and playing in the 8. That's where he played best for United when Ollie first came in. So I think when you look at that, you have to say, if you get a defensive midfield player in,
if
then
Pogba stays, he plays with Pogba. Yeah, but if Pogba doesn't, we're not going to go out and sign 2. We're not going to go out and sign one to replace McTominay and then one to come in and play alongside. Like if Pogba stays, they'll play alongside Pogba. But I don't think Pogba's going to stay. So if he goes, wherever he goes, then I reckon the person comes in and plays alongside.
I absolutely agree with Reese's comment there as well. Our fan base can be like vultures sometimes. Yeah, it's a cesspool sometimes of negativity. But for me, Scott McTominay, I'm going to give Scott. I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. I'm going to give Scott McTominay an 8 out of 10. I thought yesterday that what he done, like in terms of picking up the ball from the back 4, he done very well. He's very comfortable. Like even when he got forward a couple of times and he done well, and his work rate and winning back the ball as well was quite superb. And he's ever evolving. He's becoming a very, very important part of this Manchester United squad. And people can talk, like, I watch different shows, I watch podcasts, I look at Twitter, I do everything to like to assess kind of what people say, just kind of get an idea of kind of what other people think about players I like. And like Scott McTominay is like, he's such an important player for Manchester United. He's improving season on season. And like people can say he's not a defensive midfield player. I absolutely agree with you. Scott McTominay isn't a defensive midfield player. He's a box-to-box midfield player. But when he's playing in a defensive midfield role this season, he has done a job. He's been doing a job at the moment, and that's why he's doing it at the moment. He's doing a job because that's not his natural position. He's a box-to-box. He likes to get forward. He started off as a striker, so
he plays centre-back for Scotland. So,
like, he's a very well-rounded player. Like, you can see that, like he plays like right side of a back 3 for Scotland. So like, when you look at Scott McTominay, he's a player who you can utilize in the squad, and he's someone who can do a job when needs be. In a multitude of positions. So like, he's someone who I think gets massively disrespected in our fan base. Not just by like other rival fans, but I think within our fan base, Scott McTominay gets a lot of disrespect, which I don't like. I don't approve of that, because he's a great player, and he plays the badge. And people can call me like I love passion merchants or whatever, but he's playing well. So it isn't he's just a passion merchant. He's scoring goals. He's putting in a shift in midfield. He's breaking up play, and he wins a lot of fouls as well. I don't think people notice this much, but he's some man for drawing a foul. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, in terms of his body movement. Then he comes inside. Then he draws the foul. Like he does, very well with that.
It's his size as well. It's his size that causes people to try and bring him down, because you don't expect, and he seems to have like a burst of pace as well. He doesn't show it all the time. He's not what you describe as quick, but when he gets a burst of pace and he's run for a loose ball or something like that, because of the size of him, he just seems to put the fear in a defender that has to pull him down. Like, he got fouled in the advantage played for Martial's shot that he hit straight at Henderson, because he just picked up the ball and kept moving, and then suddenly they had to put in a challenge. But yeah, he's massively disrespected by our own fans as well.
Yeah, it is massive disrespect. But look, I'm very happy with the performances of Scott McTominay as of late. And look, if he keeps developing, I think he's going to be a massively important player for Manchester United going forward. Number 10. Well, he didn't really play as number 10 yesterday, but that's his kind of starting position. He was everywhere yesterday. My man, the man who supposedly doesn't perform against the top 6. Now, I just need to throw out a disclaimer here, because I've been waiting all show. I've been waiting. I've been waiting in the wings here, and I've been waiting since yesterday to get onto this man in player ratings. Mr. Bruno Fernandez. I'm just going to call a couple of people out here.
Yeah.
people say he doesn't score against the top six.
No.
He scored against these. He scored against most of the teams that are in the top six right now this season.
Yep.
Some of these teams who are supposedly in the top six, they're sitting low on the table. So I think you need to rejig your top six, lads. You can say whatever you want, but
Bruno Fernandez, the big nine with Arsenal and Liverpool in it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. Yeah, but like the false narrative that people are trying to draw around Bruno Fernandez is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was dying of a hangover yesterday, right? I was dying, right? And like I was like kind of had the blanket around me and I was kind of curled up watching the game yesterday, right? And seeing Bruno get a penalty 36 seconds into the game.
This makes you feel better.
I was like, I jumped straight out the bed full of energy. I was like, what the fuck? We're getting a penalty 36 seconds into a game. And to see Bruno put that away. And to see that.
Yeah.
Even though he said that celebration was for his kids.
No, that is normally.
That part isn't. This part.
Yeah, it's like, shut up.
We all know why he done that. And fair play to him. Like, he played very well yesterday, apart from the penalty, right? Yeah. He played very well for me, right? He was overall work rate, getting back, plugging these spaces to stop City's passing lanes. I thought he done very well. And I'm just going to come back to Shane's comment here. Bruno penalty is the best cure for a hangover. You're absolutely right. Never mind the anti-booze things you can get in the chemist. Never mind, a bottle of Tipperary's finest water. Never mind the fry up. Shane's comment there. A Bruno penalty is the best cure for a hangover. So look, if you're ever hungover, just go watch Bruno Fernandez. Go on YouTube. Bruno Fernandez penalty, and your hangover will go. But it's Bruno Fernandez is a fantastic midfielder. And for me, again, I'm going to say it again, and you can come at me if you want. But best midfield player in the world. Come at me, tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not. Bruno Fernandez is the best midfield player in the world at the moment. For me, I'm going to go Bruno Fernandez 9 out of 10. I've Shane's comment here. Face here. Bruno Fernandez 9 out of 10 for me, because obviously my man of the match is coming up later on the player ratings. I think you all kind of probably know who it is by now. But Bruno Fernandez 9 out of 10. Fantastic performance, not only going forward and to try to link up a few passes, but also his defensive work yesterday was good, and that kind of went unnoticed, I think, for Bruno Fernandez. He's that good. I was going to come to a couple of comments before I get your rating, Greg. Reese says Bruno 9 out of 10. Reese is in agreement with myself. Black Pudding Maguire is back in the house. He has said, go on, Keane, you tell him. I think you're and Mike with Bruno as well. Reese has said the traditional top six doesn't exist anymore. I absolutely agree. They need to rethink that, considering Arsenal have finished there.
They changed it to the big six because Arsenal are rubbish, so they had to change it to the big six. Yeah,
because Arsenal are shit. Like, let's get that right. Reese has said a Bruno penalty could set Sturridge straight, or Boris. And Eamon has said, geez, I wish he could score one today because I'm dying of a hangover here. What you need to do now, Eamon, is you need to go on YouTube, look up the highlights of the game, watch it as many times as you can, and your hangover will be grand. 100%.
You'll be fine.
Absolutely, Eamon. But Shane has come up with this comment. This way I couldn't keep a straight face during my player rating. Shane has said Bruno is Brock Lesnar and Keane is our Paul Heyman.
I like that. That's good.
My name is Keane Franey, and I am the advocate for Fernandez.
Bruno Fernandez. I like that. That's brilliant. That's class.
Tim, my brother, you're watching this. Clip that up, please. But look, he's a fantastic player. But Greg, I've said enough. Give me your thoughts on Bruno Fernandez.
Well, he's our actual captain, isn't he? Like, in terms of everything he does on the pitch, he's the actual captain. He drives everyone forward. The team looks better when he plays. And yesterday, just like Maguire's a brilliant centre back. I don't put that past him. I just don't think he organises very well, especially in high pressure situations. But Bruno just doesn't seem to let it get to him. He seemed a bit rattled in that interview, obviously before the game, which was strange to see him do. But I'm glad he did it. But people talk like the big six, like, or not the big, like that he's not going to find it harder in these bigger games. Like, you're playing against better players. Like, it's not like you're coming up against Matthias Klick, who plays for Leeds every weekend. Like, you're coming up against like genuinely good footballers. Like, you're coming against like Fabinho and Fernandinho and De Bruyne and Kante, and he's going to struggle. He's going to find it harder in those games. But he was so good yesterday, obviously dropping deep to help out, and he gives absolutely everything for it. Like, you can just tell that there's no other team that he would rather be playing for right now than Man United. So I've said since he came in, sort of after a few weeks, that he just shows like he wants to be a captain. I don't think they'll take it off Maguire. It would be interesting to see what they do, but he just works so hard, and he's absolutely our best player. And I agree with you, definitely the best midfield player in the world just now. But his work rate is just never ending. Like, I've got it on just now. They're showing the game again just now, and 15 minutes to go, and he just cleared the ball at right back, and he's to clear it out to Shaw on the left hand side, and now he's in the Man City box waiting on the ball coming in, and that's 76 minutes played, 2-0 up in a derby. Like, he's just phenomenal, and he's done it all season. So I'm absolutely with you. He's the best midfield player in the world just now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to come to Reese's comment there, which echoes everything I say about Bruno. He doesn't necessarily have to score an assist in these big games to be effective or to be fine has gone missing. Like Kevin De Bruyne, he done fuck all yesterday. Absolutely fuck all. Where's the witch hunt for where's Kevin De Bruyne in these big games? Because he has been absolutely bad this season compared to he has been in previous seasons. But because he doesn't play for a big club, that's probably why people don't associate that with Kevin De Bruyne, because they won't get clicks. Do you know what I mean? But
it's the same with Mane. I put in the chat yesterday that no one's mentioning the fact that Mane has 3 goals and 2 assists against the current Premier League top half this season. That not the top 6, the top half. He has 5 goal contributions against the top half. Like, that's awful, but you never see that mentioned. You always say, Bruno doesn't perform against the big 6.
Yeah, again,
we seem to get all the attention.
It doesn't get the clicks, so that's why that narrative isn't there. And so, what do you give Bruno? Sorry, a rating?
9.
9 as well. Okay, so collectively we went 9 on Bruno. Left side of the field, Marcus Rashford. Briefly, just give me your rating on Marcus.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 for Rashford. Like I said, did really well bringing the play out wide, trying to make it uncomfortable as possible for Cancelo when he had to track back, and then for Stones. Brought everyone into the game really well, linked up with Shaw really well, as he always does. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I'll go an 8 as well. I thought he played very well. I thought he going forward, taking on the right back Cancelo. He done well against Kyle Walker as well when he was there briefly as well. And look, it kind of symbolises work rate when he ran 60 yards to win the ball back and he got injured from that. You know, I think it was unfortunate, but it kind of symbolised his desire yesterday. Yeah. So I give him an 8 because of that. Reese has went Rashford 8, and Shane has went 6.5 or 7 out of 10 in terms of Marcus Rashford. Coming to the right hand side before we get to our striker, Mr. Daniel James. I'm going to give my rating on it straight away because I've already talked about him on the show. If you're already tuned in now, go back and check it afterwards in terms of Daniel James, the impact. I'm going to give Daniel James 8.5. People might call me nuts for this, but he played on the right yesterday, played on the left, gave Zinchenko a lot of problems. When he went off that right-hand side, Kyle Walker looked worried every time Daniel James ran at him. Anytime Daniel James ran at the City defence yesterday, he gave him problems. I think Daniel James, like the last couple of games he's come in, he's done very well. And I've been heavily critical of him this season. But since he's come in back into the team, he's done quite well. He's looked like the James when we first signed him. So I'm going to give him an 8.5 because I thought his work rate was tremendous. He done well to support Wan-Bissaka on the right-hand side, similar on the left-hand side. And, I love his desire, love his work rate. I'm probably being overly ambitious with an 8.5 probably, but that's what I think I'm going to go with it.
Fair. No, I'm going to go with an 8 for James. I thought in the first 20 minutes or so, we weren't getting the ball out to the right-hand side quick enough and often enough to really test him against Zinchenko. But the minute we started getting the ball out to him and he started running with it, he was really, really good. And you're right, he caused Walker problems as well when he switched sides. And that's Kyle Walker, and Kyle Walker's rapid. But James was in that Man United side yesterday and nothing more than merit. he's been fantastic. He's been really, really good over the last few weeks when he's got a chance to play. He was obviously really good against Sociedad, and quite rightly deserved his chance yesterday. But yeah, I'll say an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he's been a revelation since he's come back into the side. And look, I hope he can continue his form, especially look the fact that we might have Rashford out for 4 weeks. James might have to play on the left-hand side. Let's hope he can continue this good form coming into our running, you know. But finally, Anthony Martial, a man who was massively doubted throughout the Manchester United fan base. What do you give Martial out of 10?
I'll keep mine short because I imagine if he's your man of the match, you'll have something to say. So I'm going to give Martial a 9 out of 10. Thought he was really, really good. It's the best performance he's had all season. He won the ball back. He led the press. He held up the play brilliantly, allowing Man United to get out. And it was a performance of a number 9 playing with full confidence, not a performance of a number 9 that's been scrutinised, and a lot of the fan base probably want him out of the club. And Neville said it on commentary as well. Like this is the Tony Martial that you want to keep, and it's not the one you sell. But he needs to kick on now and perform like that in more games. And it's not just perform like that; it's have the effort. I think that's maybe where he fell out of favour with a lot of Man United fans. Is he didn't have the effort at all, and he didn't look like he wanted that spot and didn't want to start or he was just gone into like a sulk almost that Cavani had started games over him rather than working hard like what Shaw's done. I'm surprised he didn't look at Shaw, and hopefully he does now, and he looks at Shaw and goes, right, well, you've had your spot challenged, and you're playing that well and you've kept him out. But there's no reason why Martial can't play fantastically over the next few weeks while Cavani's still recovering and keep Cavani out the side for the run-in. But he just needs to kick on now and be consistent, even if the goals don't come, as long as the effort is there, and the goals will come eventually. It's going to take him a couple of games probably to get his confidence back. It'd be nice if he got a nice easy goal through the week against AC Milan or something like that, just a nice tap in or something to get him going. But yeah, if he can kick on, he'll be absolutely standout and really helpful for Man United in the run-in. But I'll say a 9.
Yeah, 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go 9.5, and Anthony Martial is my man of the match. I know Luke Shaw was your man of the match. And Martial is my man of the match. I'm going to give him 9.5 because I didn't think anyone... He would have got a 10 if he scored. Like if he scored that goal yesterday, he was getting a 10, right? But Anthony Martial was a perfect performance from him. Like everything he done from pressing to his attacking play to his hold up play, everything yesterday was on point. Literally all he was missing was a goal. And again, I'm going to say it again. I really do apologise to Martial because I wasn't happy when he was starting yesterday. I thought Ruben Diaz would have had a field day with him. But credit where credit's due for Tony. He played absolutely fantastic. And as you said, Greg, I echo your thoughts. All he needs now is a goal, and he'll kick on. I think keep continuing the effort, continuing the work rate, the pressure, everything, and just let's get him back to the Martial that we had right after the lockdown last season. Yeah. Let's get him to that Martial that was banging in goals for fun and looked like he was playing with absolute freedom. Let's get him back to like that. And if he does, and then for the rest of the season, for the FA Cup, the Europa League, and cementing that second place, I think Martial can be an important player for the rest of the season if he continues to give us performances like he did yesterday. I thought he was quite fantastic, and if he got that goal, like it would have just topped off what was a absolute superb performance.
Absolutely
from Anthony Martial. He is my man of the match. So he's a player who I think deserves a lot of praise from United fans still for his performance yesterday. I think we're all in agreement. Let's just hope now he kicks on now here going forward, and we see more of the same from Anthony Martial. But literally, we've gone well over the time on the podcast today because there's been so much to talk about, and there's so many fantastic performances out there as a team there. But I'm actually going to do one more rating. It's not a player. Okay. What are you going to do? What's his rating for yesterday?
He got it spot on yesterday, didn't he? 10 out of 10 for Solskjaer yesterday. Got it absolutely spot on. Seems to always get spot on against Pep. But he was absolutely right yesterday. Obviously, he was forced into the Henderson decision. That just looks like a brilliant decision. It looks like Henderson can really kick on. playing the high line was brilliant. It caught Chelsea out for the first half last week. We heard Tuchel say that at the post-match of that game. It caught City out of this game as well. We came out the box firing, and yeah, just 10 out of 10 for Ollie yesterday. He did get it right. He's showing glimpses of this tactical prowess when teams want to play into his hands. Like, I need to see it a little bit more when teams are going to be willing to sit back and give us 70% of the ball with no goals. But we need to see it over there. But yesterday he got it spot on.
Yeah, for me, I absolutely agree. Ollie, 10 out of 10. For yesterday's game, team selection in the end, spot on. And again, one thing I'd like to mention just before actually Eamon has mentioned, we forgot to give Mason Greenwood. I'll get there now in a sec. Ollie, I give him a 10 just for everything yesterday. I thought he absolutely fantastic in terms of his team selection. One thing I just want to mention, he was up off his seat for the majority of the game. He was on the sideline. I want to see more of that, because you've seen how much of an effect it had on the sideline. I like seeing how vocal he was. So for me, 10 out of 10, absolutely. Look, let's hope if he can finish out the season, get second place, and get us either the FA Cup and Europa League, or even both, that would be a fantastic, successful season. I think for all United,
we need a trophy. We need a trophy.
Win a trophy and cement in second place. That's progress. Just quickly, Eamon says Mason Greenwood had he played for 18 minutes in the round that. I give Mason
anything wrong, but didn't do anything. Yeah, I'm the same.
Because he didn't get much to do really. He got on the ball a couple of times. Did look threatening when he got down that right flank and got past Zinchenko, but I'll probably give him a 6.5. Didn't really do too much, but he didn't flatter to deceive, if you know what I mean. Just above average.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the exact same. 6.5. Didn't do anything particularly outstanding, but didn't do anything wrong either, and nothing actually detrimental to the result and to the team. Came on, played his role absolutely brilliantly. Was there to support Wan-Bissaka when he was trying to play out, and allowed Man United again to give us that option down the line. So yeah, 6.5 as well. Yeah,
6.5 for Mason Greenwood. Absolutely, we're both in agreement with that. But that's literally it. That's the Manchester Derby show review, and just wrapped up there. Obviously, we didn't give Matic and Williams a rating because they were literally only on the pitch for literally a matter of minutes. So it'd be impossible to kind of break down their performance really. But so thanks to everyone for watching the comments as well. You absolutely smashed it in the comments. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We have a lot of Man United shows here. I'm literally doing a show every day this week. I'm off work this week, so I'm literally going to do content every single day on Devil's Advocate this week. So if you're a Man United fan watching this show, do subscribe to the channel. I will have we'll have shows coming for you each day. And tomorrow I'm joined by David Dunn, Irish politician. So he's a Manchester United and Celtic fan. So we will be talking all things Manchester United and also all things Celtic, because Rangers have just won the league and there's a big rebuild needing that Celtic too. So I'm going to get his thoughts on that situation there as well. So do check that out. And also tonight at 8:30 p.m, our All Women's podcast is back. Three Devils and the Gooner is back at 8:30 p.m, where Rachel will be joined by Amy, Chell, and our Gooner Jennifer, where they'll be talking all things Manchester United and all things Arsenal too, because Arsenal also had a game on the weekend too. So do check that out. Also, do smash a like in this video, do share across your socials, and continue supporting the Weekly Armchair Kickoff, because we do have a lot of good people on this channel, not just on the Manchester United side, but on the London club side, and also the Three Devils and the Gooner. So there's plenty of football content here for you, and we have something for everyone. So absolutely, do check out the channel, because we will have a North London Derby preview coming up later this week too. That should be feisty. But Greg, just before I end the video, where can our viewers catch you on social media?
Yeah, so it's just on my Twitter at Greg_D_Chambers. Come over there, have a chat about football. If your opinion's not too wild, I'm sure I'll entertain you.
Absolutely, and do check Greg out there. He's the newest contributor to the channel. He came on our call-in show recently. Now he's a new contributor to the channel. Fantastic football opinions. Do follow Greg over on Twitter there as well. And look, as always, as you can see on the handle there, at Keane_Franey, for all your all Manchester United related tweets, MMA related tweets, and if you want to see rival fans get baited now and again, do check me out there too. So do check me out there on Twitter as well. But look, thanks to everyone for watching, and look, we'll be back later on this evening. Cheers.